one of the 12, who was called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said,
"What will you give me if I deliver him to you?"
And they paid him 30 pieces of silver. And from that moment, he sought an opportunity to betray him. Now, on the first day of the unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying,
"Where will you have us prepare for you to eat the Passover?"
He said,
"Go into the city to establish a one, and say to him, the teacher says, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples."
And now, the disciples did as Jesus had directed them, and they prepared the Passover. When it was evening, he sat at table with the 12 disciples, and as they were eating, he said,
"Truly I say to you, one of you will betray me."
And they were very sorrowful, and began to say to him, one after another,
"Is it I, Lord?"
He answered,
"Take. He who has dipped his hand in the dish with me will betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him. But woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that man if he had not been born."
Judas, who betrayed him, said,
"Is it I, Master?"
He said to him,
"You have said so."
Now, as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed and broke it and gave it to the disciples and said,
"Take, eat. This is body."
And he took a chalice, and when he had given thanks, he gave it to them, saying,
"Drink of it, all of you, for this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many, for the forgiveness of sins. I tell you, I shall not drink again of this fruit of the vine until that day, when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom."
And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus said to them,
"You will all fall away because of me this night, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I am raised up, I will go before you to Galilee."
Peter declared to him,
"Though they all fall away because of you, I will never fall away."
Jesus said to him,
"Truly I say to you, this very night, before the cock crows, you will deny me
Peter said to him,
"Even if I must die with you, I will not
And so said all the disciples. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples,
"Sit here while I go over there and pray."
And taking with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them,
"My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me."
And going a little further, he fell on his face and prayed,
"My Father, if it be possible, let this chalice pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will."
And he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter,
"So will you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you may not enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak."
Again, for the second time, he went away and prayed,
"My Father, if this cannot pass unless I drink it, your will be done."
And again, he came and found them sleeping, for their eyes were heavy. So leaving them again, he went away and prayed for the third time, saying the same words. Then he came to the disciples and said to them,
"Are you still sleeping and making and taking your rest? Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand."
While he was still speaking, Judas came, one of the 12, and with him a great crowd with swords and clubs from the chief priests and the elders of the people. Now the betrayer had given them a sign, saying,
The one I shall kiss is the man. Seize him.
and he came up to Jesus at once and said,
Hail, Master!
and he kissed him. Jesus said to him,
"Friend, why are you here?"
Then came up and laid hand on Jesus and seized him. And behold, one of those who were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck the slave of the high priest and cut off his ear. Then Jesus said to him,
"Put your sword back into its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then shall the scriptures be fulfilled that it must be so?"
At that hour, Jesus said to the crowds,
"Have you come out as against a robber with sword and clubs to capture me?" Day after day I sat in the temple teaching, and you did not seize me. But all this has taken place, that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled.
Then all the disciples deserted him and fled. Then those who had seized Jesus led him to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and the elders had gathered. But Peter followed him at a distance, as far as the courtyard of the high priest. And going inside, he sat with the guards to see the end. Now, the chief priests and the whole council sought false testimony against Jesus, that they might put him to death. But they found none, though many false witnesses came forward. At last, two came forward and said,
This fellow said, I
Pilate said to him,
I adjure you by the living God. Tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God.
Jesus said to him,
You have said so, but I tell you, hereafter you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven.
Then the high priest tore his robes and said,
He has uttered blasphemy. Why do we still need witnesses? You have now heard his blasphemy. What is your judgment?
They answered.
He deserves death.
Then they spat in his face and struck him, and some slapped him, saying,
Prophesy to us, you Christ. Who is it that struck you?
Now Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard, and a maid came up to him and said,
You also were with Jesus the Galilean.
but he denied it before them all, saying,
But he did not. I do not know what you mean.
And when he went out to the porch, another maid saw him, and she said to the bystanders,
This man was with Jesus of Nazareth.
and again he denied it with an oath.
I do not know the man.
After a little while, the bystanders came up and said to Peter,
Certainly you are also one of them, for your accent betrays you.
Then he began to invoke a curse on himself and to swear.
I do not know the man.
And immediately the cock crowed. And Peter remembered the saying of Jesus, before the cock rose, you will deny me 3 times. And he went out and wept bitterly. When morning came, all the chief priests and the elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And they bound him and led him away and delivered him to Pilate, the governor. When Judas, his betrayer, saw that he was condemned, he repented and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders, saying,
I have seen him betraying innocent blood.
they said,
What is it? What is that to us? See to it yourself.
and throwing down the pieces of silver in the temple, he departed, and he went and hanged himself. But the chief priests, taking the pieces of silver, said,
It is not lawful to put them into the treasury, since they are blood money.
So they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. Therefore, that field has been called the field of blood to this day. Then was fulfilled what had been spoken by the prophet Jeremiah, saying, and they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of them, of him, on whom a price had been set by some of the sons of Israel, and they gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord directed me. Now, Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him,
Are you the king of the Jews?
Jesus said to him,
You have said so.
But when he was accused by the chief priests and elders, he made no answer. Then Pilate said to him,
Do you not hear how many things they testify against you?
but he gave no answer, not even to a single charge. So the governors wondered greatly. Now, at the feast, the governor was accustomed to release for the crowd any one prisoner whom they wanted. And they had there a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. So when they had gathered, Pilate said to them,
Whom do you want me to release for you? Barabbas or Jesus, who is called Christ?
for he knew that it was out of envy that they had delivered him up. Besides, while he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent words to him, "Have nothing to do with that righteous man, for I have suffered much over him today in a dream." Now, the chief priests and the elders persuaded the people to ask for Barabbas and betray Jesus. The governor again said to them,
"Which of the two do you want me to release for you?"
and they said,
"Barabbas."
Pilate said to them,
"Then what shall I do with Jesus, who is called Christ?"
they all said,
"Let him be crucified."
and he said,
"Why? What evil has he done?"
but they shouted all the more.
"Let him be crucified."
So when Pilate saw that he was gaining nothing, but rather that a riot was beginning, he took water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying,
"I am innocent of this righteous man's blood. See to it yourselves."
and all the people answered.
"His blood be on us and on our children."
Then he released for them Barabbas, and having scourged Jesus, delivered him to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the praetorium, and they gathered the whole battalion before him. And they stripped him and put a scarlet robe upon him, and plaiting a crown of thorns, they put it on his head, and put a wreath in his right hand, and kneeling before him, they mocked him, saying,
"Hail, King of the Jews!"
and they spat upon him, and took the wreath, and struck him on the head. And when they had mocked him, they stripped him of the robe, and put his own clothes on him, and led him away to be crucified. As they were marching out, they came upon a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. This man was compelled to carry his cross, and when they came to the place called Golgotha, which means the place of a skull, they offered him wine to drink, mingled with gall. But when he tasted it, he would not drink it. And when they had crucified him, they divided his garments among them by casting lots. Then they sat down and kept watch over him there. And over his head they put the charge against him, which read, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." Then two robbers were crucified with him, one on the right and one on the left. And those who passed by derided him, wagging their heads and saying,
"You who destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross."
So also the chief priests, with the scribes and elders, mocked him, saying,
"He saved others. He cannot save himself. He is the King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe in him. He trusts in God. Let God deliver him now, if he desires him, for he said, 'I am the Son of God.'"
And the robbers who were crucified with him also reviled him in the same way. Now, from the 6th hour, there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried with a loud voice,
Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani.
that is,
My God, why have you forsaken me?
and some of the bystanders, hearing it, said,
"This man is calling Elijah."
and one of them at once ran and took a sponge, filled it with vinegar, and put it on a reed, and gave it to him to drink. But the other said, cried again with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit.
All kneel. All stand.
And behold, the curtains of the temple was torn in two, from top to bottom, and the earth shook, and the rock was split. The tomb also were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised, and coming out of the tomb after